Hello, all my beautiful people of the world. It is the Creative Rush here, and today we are doing our part 2 on the tutorial on how to make multiplayer game UI. Now, when I say multiplayer game UI, I mean the UI you'll specifically see in multiplayer games. Some things like when you aim at different players, their name will show up over their heads in different colors, or how when your crosshair changes colors when you aim at enemies and friends. So, without further ado, let's get into Unity. Okay, so if you open up a new scene, you'll see that you'll have nothing but a main camera. We can go ahead and delete that main camera because we won't be needing that. So up here where it says create, we're going to click that 3D object and go down in terrain. This should create a really big square that we will put our character on. So we're going to want to go into the terrain and see this little paintbrush right here. We're going to click that. Also, I forgot to mention, I'm going to be getting rid of the face cam for the tutorial videos because I don't want to block my mouse from anything. So you can see everything I'm clicking on. So after you've gone on the paintbrush, hit Edit Textures, Add Texture, then go up to Select. Now you could select anything, you could hit any one of these we want, but I'm going to go with Grass Hill. Now hit Add, and you should see your terrain is now covered in grass. It's really dark though, so we're going to go up to Create, Light, and Directional Light. You should see this lit up our scene a little bit. Now if you go to Game View, well we don't have a camera so it doesn't have a Game View, but if you look up at the sky you'll see it's pretty dull. You can add skyboxes to that and change that, but we really don't need to do that. We just need a floor so we can see what we're doing. Now that we got our environment set up, we're going to add our character. So you're going to want to go to Standard Assets, Character Controllers, and then hit First Person Controller and drag it into your scene. It'll be down the floor a little bit, so you're going to want to go over here to the arrows and then drag it upwards a little. If you hit the play button right here, it'll load for a second, and then when you get into your scene, you'll see that we have a functioning character. Right here. So if you move your mouse, the character's camera moves too. And my X axis is very slow, so I might bring that up a little bit. Sensitivity, we'll put that to about, let's say 20. So now we got our character set up, we're going to have something that locks our mouse in the center. So if you see if we hit play mode right now, our mouse will go all over the place. 1 second. Now you can see our mouse goes everywhere. So we want something that will keep our mouse in the center of the screen. You're going to want to create a JavaScript and name it mouse lock or whatever you want to name it. I named it mouse lock. Let's open that up real quick. It has to be JavaScript. It can't be C#. So if you go into the, 1 second, I gotta find it. Here we go. If you go into the mouse lock script, you're going to want to enter all these. I'll leave them in the description below if you don't want to copy them. So if you take this and then go to your first person controller, drag that script into your main camera. It doesn't have to be in your main camera, it could be anywhere, but I'm going to put it in my main camera because it makes sense to me. Hit play mode. And as you can see, our mouse is now firmly placed in the center. So we can move it anywhere we want. It'll stay there. It's not going anywhere. So now we got to create our enemies and our bad guys and our friendlies. To do that, we're going to go to Create, 3D Object. You can do any of these shapes you want, but I'm going to go with a cube because it's the simplest one there. Now, I need another cube, but I'm not going to go to Create. I'm just going to right-click that cube, hit Duplicate, and then I'll have another one I can move around and do whatever I want. I have some preset materials here. I have a red one and a green one. You don't need these, but I'm just going to use these to assign the different enemies, friendlies, all that stuff. So you want to make one green, make one red. Now, this is going to be our enemy and our friendly, but we'll get back to that later. For now, I want to go to the crosshair. The crosshair I made, it's just a simple UI element. So you're going to go to Create, UI Image, UI, Image. Then I should create a giant canvas right here with a big square. On that square, you're going to hit Source Image, and I drew up a little crosshair here. You can make it whatever you want as long as it's white. The crosshair has to be white in order for this to work correctly. It can have black in it, but everything that's white will work. So we're going to use that. And we're probably going to scale that. Well, first, we want to go to our canvas. Where it says screen space overlay. Wait, wrong spot. Where it says constant pixel size, we want to do that to scale with screen size. That means no matter what ratio we use, the crosshair will always be the same size relative to the screen. Scale that down to the size we want. I want it to be pretty small so it doesn't get in the way too much. And now if we go to play mode, you will see we have a crosshair and 2 blocks in our scene. It's looking good so far, but now we want to add the friendly and enemy texts. So to do that, we're going to go down here over to Create, UI, then Canvas. After you've done that, you want to go over to Canvas, Screen Space Overlay. Click on that and change it to World Space. This makes it so it doesn't display on the camera anymore, and instead you can just move it around the world as you want. It's pretty much just like your regular 3D object, only it's a UI image. We're going to rotate that down to wherever we want it. Alright, so after you've got it about where you want it, you're going to go over to Create, UI, and by the way, make sure this canvas is highlighted. Create, UI, UI text. Now we'll see it says New Text in our canvas. You're going to want to change the positions to 0, 0. So that's right in the middle of the screen. We're going to change these, so instead of going from left to right, it stays in the middle, and it's always in the middle of the text box. So click the middle ones on each of these. Now we don't want to say new text. We're going to work on the enemy one for now. So we're going to type in, right here, enemy. You can see it's a little hard to see right now, so we're going to go ahead and change the color and font size. Colors right here, we're going to make this one red. It's a little bit blurry, so all we need to do is go over here and change the font size. We're going to go to 25 for now. You can make it any size you want, but that's just what we're going to use for the example. We're going to want to try to get this right above the red cube. No, here, let's see the red cube's rotation. Rotation is 0. So we're going to go to this canvas and make its rotation on the y-axis 0, 2. Or 90. 90 works best on this. This is just for me. The 90 and everything, that doesn't apply to you. I'm just trying to get it to rotate to where it's about with the cube. Scale the canvas down a little bit. And make the text a little bit larger. Oh, didn't want to move the text. Was not what I meant to do. Here, canvas. We're going to try to get that as in line with the top of the cube as possible. I say that's pretty good for now. So we have the enemy one, but now we need the friendly one. So we're going to copy that canvas. So right click the canvas and hit duplicate. Hit duplicate, then drag it over here. It still says enemy in red, but we're going to change that real quick. Just go down to where you wrote enemy in the text and write friendly. Or you could write anything you want down, as long as it signifies that it's a good guy. We also don't want it to be red, so we're going to go in and change that color from red to green. I say that looks pretty good for now. I might want to lower those blocks a little bit. They're kind of right in your face. So if you go into play mode, you will see that we have enemy and friendly hovering over those boxes. But here's the problem. They're hovering over, but you can't see them at every angle. And they'll be backwards if you go over here. What we need to do is apply a script I made called Camera Rotate UI. You can call it whatever you want, but this one has to be in C#, not JavaScript. So you're going to want to right click, create C# script. I've already created mine, so let's go ahead and open that up. Alright, now that we have open Rotate Camera UI, or Camera Rotate UI, whatever you want to name it, we have this. I have this script written down. You go ahead in the description and copy it, or you can just write it from what you see here. So what this does here, transforms, which means it changes one of the either rotation, scale, or movement position of the object we're placing it to. This signifies we're going to be changing rotation. The equals, we're putting that, so the rotation will equal main camera and its transform rotation. So if you didn't understand that, that means it's saying it's going to transform whatever the script is attached to, and it's going to rotate it to the same axis as the camera. So if we apply this to our text, I'm going to go ahead and rename these. This one's going to be enemy label. And this one will be friendly label. Now that we got those attached, we're going to take the Camera Rotate UI script and attach it to both of these canvases. Not this one though. This is our crosshair canvas. We don't want to change anything about that yet. So if you go into play mode, you'll see that they rotate with the camera, so you can see them no matter what angle you're standing at. This is also good for things like button commands, so if you have to interact with anything, you could put an E or whatever object it is, and it will rotate with the camera. This has a lot of functionality. So now you can still see that they stay there no matter what. We're going to try to change that and make it so that the enemy and friendly labels only appear when you have your mouse over those blocks. To do that, you need two C# scripts. One of them is enemy label appear, and one of them is friendly label appear. You can name whatever you want. I'm just using these names because that's what I named them. Well, no, I just named them enemy label and friendly label. So if we open enemy label, give it a second here. You'll see this code. It's kind of long, but don't worry, I'll go through explaining it for you. These right here are variables, or at least they are in JavaScript. I'm not big on C#. In JavaScript, they'd be variables. Now these appear over here, and what these do is things you can assign over here, over in your inspector. Text will be our label. Our label will be our text. So label over here will be a certain kind of text, which is the text that we want to appear. Fade time. Now here's what fade time will do. We want our text to sort of fade in. We don't want it to just pop in. We want it to fade in. And this will be how fast we want it to fade in. If you don't want it to fade in, you could just put it like 999 or something like that. It'll automatically pop in. But for the names, we want them to fade in. So we're going to put them around 8. And on is a boolean, or a bool. What on will do is it will just, if you check mark it, then it will stay that color the entire time. So here's how the script works. Label, or our text, will equal a game object and try to find the game object enemy UI. We're going to have to change our names of our text to enemy UI and friendly UI. But for now, let's just look at this. So we're going to write enemy UI here, and it will find it. And it'll get the component inside of it, text. After it finds text, label.color will equal color clear. That means when it starts off the game, that text will be clear or see-through. You won't be able to see it at all. On mouse over on equals true. Like we said, on is when the color you assign is true. So when our mouse is over whatever object the script is attached to, on will equal true. And if mouse is not on there, or on mouse exit, on will equal false, which means that it will go back to clear. If on, which on equals true, also known as when your mouse is on the thing, label.color will equal color.lerp, which means the color will lerp in, it will fade in. Label.color, color equals color.red. So this script, the color will turn red when it appears. Else, which means if it's not that, then color will equal clear. So if you save that, it's already saved on mine. We're going to have to rename these enemy UI and friendly UI. We're going to take enemy label and put it on, no, we want it on this cube here. We're going to name this enemy. Name this cube friend. So we're going to take that enemy label and drag it over to enemy. Then we have pretty much the same script, only for the friendly cube. And I'll go over how that works too. And all the stuff that we changed. So friendly label, it's pretty much the same thing, only instead of looking for enemy UI, it's looking for friendly UI. Does the same thing, and then down here, when you get down here, instead of red, it will say green. That means when it appears, it'll be green instead of red. So we're going to drag that to friend. Now go into friend and find where it says friendly label. That's the script you just added. Where it says label, it'll say none, parentheses text. Go over in there and select friendly UI. This will mean that when you hover your mouse over it, that UI will appear. Then here where it says fade time, I'm going to put 8 because I want it to fade in. The lower number you put, the slower it fades in. The higher you put it, the faster it fades in. And we're not going to click on because that will make it on all the time. Going to do the same to enemy, only instead of friendly text, you're going to put in enemy UI and put fade time to 8. So if we go into play mode now, you'll see that when we hover our cursor over these cubes, it will appear. There's enemy, and here's friendly. Now the final thing we have to work with is the crosshair changing colors. We're going to do pretty much the same thing we did on there, only instead it's going to be for the crosshair. So I have this, okay, first you're going to take this image, rename it crosshair 1. And this might seem weird right now, but just trust me, duplicate that crosshair and rename it crosshair 2. On crosshair 1, we're going to attach a script I made called crosshair green. In crosshair green, it's pretty much the same thing as the friendly label, only instead of label and text, we have crosshair, and that crosshair is an image. It'll look for the UI image crosshair. Down here it says, up here it said clear before, but now it says white because we want the crosshair to start off as white. When we hover over, it'll equal green, and then when we hover off, it'll equal white. So we're going to want to attach that to friendly and assign all the same things as before. None image, we're going to put crosshair 1, and fade time, we want this to be 999 because we don't want this one to fade. I want this one to just pop in as green. And then with crosshair 2, that's going to be the one that turns red. So let's look. I made another script, crosshair red, in C#. So if you look at crosshair red, it's pretty much the same thing. Looks for crosshair, starts off as clear because we want it to see through the first one. Color will be red when we hover over, it'll be clear when we get off. Now here's why we did clear. We don't want both crosshairs being there at the same time, so the one that turns red is going to be see-through, and then it will show up over the other crosshair when it turns red. We're going to attach this one to enemy. Set this to 999, and set this to crosshair 2. So if you go into play mode, you can see that our crosshair changes colors like we want it to. It'll turn red when it's over enemy. Then we look at the friend, it'll turn green and show up friendly. No matter what angle you look at it, it'll still show up. Jump on top of it, you can still see enemy. You can still see friendly. Jump over here. You can still see friendly.